the session here. This is a simple and easy session, which is about using IDEs. And if you have already been using Jupyter, VSCode, or Spyder, then you already know how to use IDEs most of the time. But this is just to make you more familiar with, how to work with your favorite IDE as well as whatever server you'll be connecting to. So, okay, ThinLink is back on Cosmos, I guess. Okay, I'm just staying away from ThinLink right now because it was a bit uncertain how it's working, but I'll be using ThinLink to demonstrate Spyder on Payload. So we have three sections here, Jupyter, Spyder, and VSCode. I now know that no one is going to use Spyder, so I'll spend less time on Spyder. Regardless, I'll show how Spyder looks like. So starting with Jupyter, and we have just 5 minutes before we go on a break. If you have already connected to one of your IDs, that's fine. You don't have to struggle with other ID here. Maybe we'll come to your ID. And hopefully you are already on your ID right now. If it's Jupyter, then you're on Jupyter. If it's VS Code, then you're there. So these instructions right here that you see are for how to connect with these IDs. If you're already there, you don't have to, because this is already covered in the previous two sections of how to start with command line, GFX launcher on demand. So I'm going to skip this section, which is the same as the last two sections. So Jupyter Notebook, I'll show you quickly here that I am connected to one Jupyter Notebook here, Jupyter server here. And you can see that's running on my local. But the reality is it's been port forwarded from one of the clusters, Pele, UPPMAX. And this is currently running on a compute node. And I'm accessing that compute node, Jupyter server here on my local, as you can see with the URL here. It's pretty easy to read a Jupyter notebook. This is because it interthreads the code as well as the markdown. And that's the benefit of it. You can run your code cell by cell as well as the markdown cell by cell. A Jupyter Lab is having more features, and it's like a mini web browser. You can also sort of browse through your files. It gives the files here. You can start and stop your kernels. If you're running multiple Python kernels or multiple Jupyter files, you can manage them here. If you have any LSPs like language servers for Python or for another coding language, you can also do that here. For this simple example, I just have like one Jupyter notebook here, and this is a sample here. You can find the same, I'm by the way picking up this Jupyter notebook from this exercise. You can, if you are running your Jupyter, you can just copy paste this code into your notebook. Okay, let me make this bigger. Maybe this is comfortable. Okay, so yeah, so this is a simple code cell, and this is a simple markdown cell, and it allows you to also alter the text. Like you can give equations, you can make it bold, italics, headings, and so on. One of the benefits that also Jupyter Notebook gives is using magic commands. And the magic commands starts something like ampersand, and a single ampersand or a double ampersand. If it's a single line command, it's a single ampersand. If it's supposed to be affecting multiple lines, then it's a double ampersand. Timeit is a very common magic command that Jupyter Notebook provides. And what it does is it runs the same cell multiple times to give you an average of how long will this particular cell take when it's executed. So in this case, it's 10.8 microseconds, plus and minus some standard deviation. A word of caution here, of course, is that if you have like a very complex code here, which takes like a few minutes, don't run this command, because then a few minutes will mean like half an hour or more than that maybe because it's running the same loop again and again. Some other useful command can be like &whos, which gives you all the variables that's been used until now. And my personal favorite is that you can also run system commands directly in Jupyter Notebook by giving an exclamation mark. So if I give exclamation pwd, it will give you, it will let you run that. So I don't have to go back and forth to the terminal. So that also means if I have to pip install into my environment, I can already do it in the Jupyter Notebook. I can use exclamation pip, or I can also use &pip. This is also a magic command that Jupyter Notebook provides. So I can directly install, let's say, transformers if I don't have that into my environment. Similarly, matplotlib is another magic which is allowed here to provide inline plots, and I can print them here like this. You can also select your IPython kernel from here. So by default, it's picking up the kernel in which this Jupyter Notebook was launched from, and that's why it's only seeing one IPython kernel. But maybe you have, we'll show it when we are on, let's say, a VSCode or somewhere we are SSHing through, that can actually see multiple kernels and you can select any one of them. Or if you have like Conda environments. So let's take a break now. It's 2:55. All right. So my clock says 15:10, and I'll start with the session again. Welcome back. This is the last session before we close for the day. We were at Jupyter Lab and Jupyter Notebook. You can still see my screen, right? I hope so. So I was talking about the Jupyter Lab and Jupyter Notebook. There are more magic commands that can find to be helpful. I have listed them here. But to be honest with you, I do not use all of these when I'm working with Jupyter Lab notebooks. The ones I already mentioned were the ones that I usually use. Maybe sometimes I want to load a script. So I might use &load or run a script &run. But otherwise, other than that, I do not use Jupyter Notebook in that way. It's usually because I want to like write down things in between my cells, Python cells. That's where I use them. Okay, we'll move to the next one, which is the Spyder here. And I'll quickly show how Spyder looks like, and then we can move to VSCode, and then I can show you how to connect ongoing kernels or your environment that you have created up until now to your IDEs. So with Spyder, you need to install Spyder in your environment. You can pip install Spyder and then just type Spyder. So once you do it, this is a thin link to Pele here, but you can similar to do it in your respective cluster. You have already installed Spyder in one of the exercises when you were doing using isolated environments. So for a Spyder, it might look somewhat like this. Let me full screen this one. Yeah. And for this exercise, I'm again using one of the exercise. So this exercise also mentioned here in the exercise section for Spyder. You can also copy paste it if you're using Spyder already. But as you can see, it has more functionalities than just a Jupyter Notebook or a lab. And here you can also debug scripts. You can, of course, not just run your Python script, but you can also run your Jupyter Labs notebook in your Spyder. And for that, you would have to install a plugin for your Spyder. You can Google how to install that plugin. It's a Spyder hyphen notebook. So pip install Spyder hyphen notebook. I've not mentioned that into the documentations because that's not important here. But just saying that you can also run your notebooks on your Spyder environment. On the right side, you can see that you have some handy tools like you can use Variable Explorer. Whatever is created on the left side in the script will be shown here. You can also see your plots here. Mostly people use Spyder for plotting purposes. So if I run, by the way, you can also run Spyder just like Jupyter Notebook. You can run it cell by cell. To do that, you will have to use this special command like hashtag ampersand, sorry, percentage sign with this like this. And then you can just run this run cell, and it only runs this part of the cell. So on the right side, you can see that it created the variables. Or you can just run the whole file like this, and you can see it generated some output down here. Maybe I can make this bigger. Hello Spyder, variables are this. I just created like a class counter. It counts, it gives a number and it increments it by 2, and it prints out a message, the data it had, and the variables it created here. So counter becomes 7. You can also see that this is a like a IPython console. That means you can run your Python like inline Python here itself. And so if in case you need to like run one-liners in your Python, you can do it right here. Like earlier, I was showing you that, telling you that you can also run notebook. For that, once you have installed that, pip install that Spyder notebook, you can go to Window, Panes, and find this notebook option here, which toggles something like this on the rightmost side. And then you can open one of the files. Let's open Jupyter Basics again, which I was showing you earlier. Takes a few seconds. Yeah. So it has rendered the Jupyter notebook here. And then you can run it the way you were running your Jupyter notebook earlier. As you saw, like panes, you can also select and deselect other options. If you find these to be a lot of like debugger profile, you don't need all this, you can switch them off here. Okay, so now I'll be moving on to the next part, which is the VSCode. For more options for the features and everything, you can read the Spyder, but I'm not going through them because no one said that they're using Spyder in this course lecture. Also, configurations are given for the Spyder in case you want it specifically for plotting purposes, then you can enhance your Spyder by these configurations. All right, VS Code. Probably one of my favorite as well. I've been using VS Code for a while now. And you can, I think, do not just Python, a lot of languages, as well as you can have a lot of you can have a lot of extensions here. So you can also write code if you want to write code with your notebooks or your Python code or any language for that matter. Probably first thing you will want to do is if you're using VS Code is to connect it to your whatever server you want to connect it with. So for that, you will have to click on Remote Explorer. Okay, so you might not even have Remote Explorer. So first of all, you need to go to extensions and install a couple of extensions here. One of them being remote tunnels. You can type in remote tunnels and install that. And with that, you can also install remote SSH. So with these two, you should have this remote explorer pop up here. When you click on it, you can, like, for now it's populated by my stuff, but you can click on like plus and you can give in the credentials for your, like, if as you do normal SSH, you can do SSH to that server. So for those who are using VS Code right now, I'll encourage them to do that so that you are already connected to your any server you want to connect it with. In my case, I've connected with the again UPPMAX Pele. And as you can see on the terminal here, also you can see this is my username followed by the Pele. And if you cannot see this particular bar, like terminal here, you can click on terminal, new terminal, and this will show up. As you can see, I've already rendered a Jupyter notebook. In case you're not able to render a Jupyter notebook, it usually detects that it's an IPyNB notebook and you need to install a Jupyter, let's say, extension. It will give you a recommendation, you install that. It might also say, oh, you do not have a Python IPy kernel for which is needed to run a Jupyter notebook. Then it's better that you first have a virtual environment, create a Python virtual environment, install your Jupyter there first. And once you have done that, then you can point your VS Code to look there for that IPy kernel. So once you have, let's go back to this file explorer option here. So there are like somewhat similar options on the left-hand side, just like we saw in the Spyder. The Explorer here, which shows the file explorer stuff. You can also see the outline here with your outline options where you can see for your Jupyter notebook, you can see the headings and stuff here. Right now I'm on my folder, Jupyter basics.ipynb that I've created here. And let's say I have to connect it with the IPy kernel, which it's not existing right now. I cannot find it somewhere. Then on the right-hand side, top right, you will see, for now it's already connected, but when you click on it, it says like change kernel for, my name is Jayant, using IDE so-and-so. So here I can give in the full path of where this IPy kernel exists. So let's say I have to select a kernel. I can click on select another kernel. I click on existing Jupyter server or Python environments. So this is an IPy notebook, and I need a Jupyter server for that, not a Python environment. But even if you click on the Python environment, it might try to find the IPy kernel inside that. For this purpose, I'm clicking on Jupyter server, and it asks for like ignore this long list because I've already connected to a lot of Jupyter servers in the past, but usually you might find it empty if you're doing it for the first time. But it's asking for a remote URL to that Jupyter server. So first and foremost, you need that Jupyter server running in your either login node or a compute node, right? So I'll go to my terminal here. And you have already done this in your previous sections, that you have already started a Jupyter server if you have. And you know that when the Jupyter server starts, it gives you a URL somewhat like this one and this one. So this is the, the speed denotes that this is running on Pele node 115 on uppmax.se on port 8888, followed by your particular session token. So I'll copy this URL that I'm running on one of the nodes, and I'll paste it here. Okay. So I click on connect this. So it says, okay, connect to this particular node. And it finds something in there. It finds an IPython kernel in there. So you can see that in my case, going back to this particular Jupyter server that I'm running, maybe I can make this a bit bigger. Okay, I'm not able to make it bigger. Okay, this. So here you can see earlier I was like, just look at this line here. I sourced my virtual environment, which was IDE and bin activate. So I am using a virtual environment to run my Jupyter server somewhere. And here you can also see that IDE underscore env has been activated. And after that, only I started my Jupyter notebook like this. And then it started the Jupyter server, right? So what I'm trying to say here is that this server is running inside a virtual environment called IDE env. And that is what you can see here on the VSCode. Maybe I can make this doesn't get bigger. But here it says Python 3 IPyKernel using underscore IDE / Jupyter basics.ipynb. Okay. So it's able to detect that particular env as well. And I click that. And now it's able to connect to it. It was already connected, so it's not showing earlier. Otherwise, it shows that it's connecting. And then I can run my commands like, like this runs or this runs. I can just run all, and this runs, everything runs. Now this is running on one of the compute nodes on UPPMAX Pele inside a virtual environment. Okay, so as you can see, let's make it bigger. It's running. It's trying to also pip install transformers at this time. And it will run. So, so as you can see that I'm running a Python Jupyter notebook inside a VS Code. Otherwise, I could have also run some other Python script like Spyder basics, somewhat similarly. Like if you're using if you just want to use like run your Python script, bottom right corner, again, this is not becoming any bigger. Is it? Yes, it is. On bottom right, you can see that it's trying to detect where the Python is. So currently it's detecting my own local one. But again, if I click on this, I can try to find one of the Python environments in my like currently, because I'm connected to Pele, so it can find it on Pele wherever I have that environment. So it's already suggesting me some environments. You can see I have Conda environment there. So it's suggesting me /proj, yada yada, Conda environments. So these are all my Conda environments I've already created on Pele. So it can detect all these Conda environments there. And it's also detecting, by the way, the IDE env, which is running 3.12.3 Python. So doing that, clicking on that, now bottom right again, you can see that when I click run, the Spyder basics will run on the IDE environment inside that. Apart from this, of course, like vibe coding is here. So I guess a lot of you will be using some sort of agent to do your coding. Most of these agents, I've not tested for all the servers, but they can, of course, create files inside your project environments. In this case, I have already like running on the right side, you get chat window with the session. I can start by like starting an agent and it will create some files for me if I want to. So in this case, it did not find matplotlib, but I can also again pip install matplotlib and it should install matplotlib, just like I pip installed transformers. and it should run. All right. Is there any question regarding how to use like Jupyter server with VS Code for anyone? Are you getting stuck with just Jupyter server, how to run that, or do a port forwarding or something like that? Can like do some reaction, or you can ask me directly. All right, so I've given a step-by-step in like images on how to install these extension and how to start connecting with your remote server. I have almost talked about the features. If you're already using VS Code, you might already know these features on Explorer VS Code. On the bottom left, you can also see that it shows where it's connected. So SSH Pele AE is my host, and you can also go to like command palette, and you can change in the settings if you want to for your SSH. For example, let's see. So for example, there is an option if you just like, let me do that again. Command palette. You can search for remote SSH settings. Is the link necessary for Ubuntu users? I mean, you can use depends on what you're connecting to Darden. I think you can also connect it to directly to the website. Correct me if I'm wrong, Bigitha. You can directly connect with the browser thin link.
For Dardel, yeah, I need to check if they have a web portal as well. I don't think so.
Okay. Yeah, if you're looking for a solution to do a GUI-based work, then thin link is important. Yeah, coming back to this, I was showing you that on VS Code, if you go to your settings, you can also play around where your, for example, extensions and other things are installed on your remote host. So one thing to keep in mind is VS Code takes a lot of like space and install a lot of files. By default, it will install everything in your home directory. And these home directory that you have is having very limited space and file number size. So like 30,000 files or something like that are only allowed on your home directories. And usually VS Code it generates a lot of small temporary files, and it just bloats up the whole space, and you're not able to do any work because now all your home directories are filled. So one of the recommendation setting to work with VS Code if you are planning to do a lot of coding is to go to the setting and go to the server install path and change this path to your project folder so that once the extensions are installed, they're installed in your project folder instead of your home directory. I have given the same instructions here in the VS Code section. So configuring for remote development, you can read through this if you want to. It talks about the same stuff, how to manage your extensions. And if you want to install more extensions on the remote server, how do you do that? It's the same way to do it on any server. I've given an example of Pele, but you can do it the same way for any server here. I've also talked about how to select kernels. Once you have connected to them, you can select kernels, which means going back. On the top right, that's how you connect it to a different kernel for IPyNB. And on the bottom right, that's how you connect it to a Python environment to run your Python script. So for this exercise, I would encourage you to run one of these exercises, and depending on what, let's say, might use SciPy or you might use for machine learning purposes or something else, transformers, PyTorch, TensorFlow. So these are two different examples in your environment where you already created, like in the previous section, it was called, I think, example. You can install SciPy, pip install SciPy, and from there you run, with the VSCode, run this particular script if you can. If you want to do it with the transformers and PyTorch, you can also do this. It takes a little bit longer to install Torch and transformers, otherwise it's fine. Okay. So this concludes how you can work with VSCode and connect it to your host machine, which is running either your Jupyter server, or it might already have a Python environment that you can connect to, and how to dump your the excess files that VSCode is generating onto your project file folder instead of your home directory. Does anyone have any question? Or is there anything specific that you would like me to show you, demonstrate you? We have 10 minutes. Otherwise, if you have been running Jupyter, please run one of the exercises, and please run this one. If you would like to run it on GFX Launcher or Open on Demand, then you're just welcome to use that. But if you want to run it on your personal computer, I think we have not covered that, how to connect Jupyter Notebook through your personal computer, but this has been talked about in the previous section. I can also show this again here. So this is a concept of port forwarding. So let's say you have been running a Jupyter Notebook on your server, like I have been running a Jupyter Notebook on my server. Then I connect to Pele. Don't worry about the AE part. You just connect to Pele. This are saved it. I go to my project directory. You can see I have one of my environments there. Let me make this bigger. Yeah. So I can source activate this and start my Jupyter server. So source maybe env bin activate. Okay, so I've activated my environment, and then I run Jupyter Notebook without the browser, and I hit run. I'm not hitting run because I'm already running a Jupyter server. So your Jupyter server will start. Okay. After you have started it, just like I have on this terminal. You will do a port forwarding. So minus L is for port forwarding. You can also attach minus N. This is to, like, I think, suppress or not to run any commands for the like remote commands after this command. I'm just leaving it minus L, and then you have to tell that you need to run it on your local host, on which port you want to run it. So let's take this 9000 this time. And on the remote server, which remote server are you running? Your Jupyter. In this case, I'm running on P115. So I give that P115 colon. Then in what port it's running? So let's go back and see. So you can see P115 colon triple 8888. So I give that 8888. Okay. Then it's the usual. So I think this is the extra part while doing SSH. The source and the destination. I hit enter. And it SSH, but it opens up my 9000 port to listen to. So now I can use this particular URL, which is a local host URL. I can copy this and I can paste this here. Just one change is that I'm listening to 9000 port. So I'm going to click enter 9000. It's not running. Let's see why. Broken pipe. Oh, my server stopped. So actually, I'll have to SSH again. Do that again. Let me just run it on the login node for now. There's the Jupyter notebook command. I don't want to write it again. Yeah. It's on the login node. It might take some time to run. But once it starts running, again, it will give a URL. But the token will change, of course. So I'll just paste that token here instead. Uh, Meanwhile, of course, my P115 has closed. So I might have to, of course, connect this whole thing again. Look forward again. So this is the new token and the whole thing. Wait, what? Okay. So I do not know the host name exactly now because it's running on the login node. One way is to write host name, if you remember, like Brigitte was mentioning host name and gives the host name. But I messed up. So I close this. And instead, let's just try interactive session. So I have the P115 again. Jupyter server again. Oh, should have been with minus minus. So, Should be minus B. Yeah, that is the reason it was not showing the host name in the URL. Yeah, now it shows that. Oh, where did that go? Yeah. Okay, so I do a forward again with the same B115. I did that, and now I can copy this whole thing again. And use this. And it's connecting to the Jupyter server. So now it's connecting to a compute node. It's a bit slow. And yeah, here you can see it has connected in the back. Similarly, on the VSCode, also I can do that, detecting kernel existing Jupyter server. I paste that B115. Yeah. Copy. Yeah. Found something. It's trying to connect. Takes a while. It should connect because the Jupyter server is also running here. All right, I think with that, we have concluded today's session. It's taking some time to connect it. But this brings us to the end of day 2. I hope you all learned some stuff, and you will try to, if you have questions, you can send us like support ticket if you have any